All right. Hey, my friends, welcome to today's episode where we are going to talk about the question, do you really need fear, or does fear really keep you safe? And before you think that you know the obvious answer to that, I want to pause for a second and really sit with this question. And today I'm actually going to read a passage from the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins, who those of you who have been with the show for a while or who've worked with me know I'm a huge fan of. And we're going to dive into that. Before we do, if you can help us out by liking and subscribing and leaving a comment or review, it really helps the show. It helps the algorithm, helps get this to more people. Also, if you're looking for guidance and support for OCD and anxiety recovery, please head over to restoredminds.com or look at the links in the notes. We have some resources to get you started, and we're happy to help you with that. So let's go ahead and tune back into the show. So I'm going to go ahead and read a passage here. And this is from the book Letting Go. And Dr. Hawkins says, we have the unconscious fantasy that fear is keeping us alive. This is because fear is associated with our whole set of survival mechanisms. We have the idea that if we were to let go of fear, our main defense mechanism, we would become vulnerable in some way. In reality, the truth is just the opposite. Fear is what blinds us to the real dangers of life. In fact, fear itself is the greatest danger that the human body faces. It is fear and guilt that bring about disease and failure in every area of our lives. And then he goes on to say, we could take the same protective actions out of love rather than out of fear. Can we not care for our bodies because we appreciate and value them rather than fear of disease and dying? Can we not be of service to others out of love rather than the fear of losing them? Can we be polite and courteous to strangers because we care about our fellow humans rather than the fear of losing their good opinion of us? And he goes on and lists several more examples, but the point that I really want to stress and really dive into in this episode is this idea, this belief that we carry that fear serves us, fear helps us. And if you really look back in your life, like if I look back in mine, when I've been really afraid of things, in essentially every instance that I can think of, it didn't serve me. What it did was create a prison in my life somehow. Some walls, these, walls that I created that, again, wouldn't, that kept me confined to what I believed was safe. And because I stayed in that, I validated what was outside those walls was dangerous. Whether it was as simple as trying out for something I wanted to try out for and not doing it because, hey, I might fail, right? Not applying for a job because, hey, I might get rejected. Or not asking a girl out, in high school because, it'd be too humiliating if I got rejected, right? Or something along those lines. I mean, you can go really in any realm of your life and see that. And it's like, okay, is fear really serving me? Look back. Look back at all the missed opportunities in your own life that you've passed on because of fear, right? And that's why, in my TBC program or Taking Back Control program, the opening statement, I mean, dare I say, the main central passage and line that we anchor back into was the quote from Roosevelt, where the only thing to fear is fear itself. Because when fear is running your life, it creates a prison. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It limits your life. It limits your opportunities. It dictates what you do. You are not free when fear runs the show. You may convince yourself you are. You may think that you are. You may lie to yourself as well and tell you that it's better like this. Tell yourself it's better like this. But at the end of the day, fear is the problem, not what you are afraid of. And when you get that, when you really get that, then what you begin to understand is what I need to do is let go of fear as a whole. And you realize fear has not actually served me, that I actually can and will succeed in life without it. You'll be much more successful in your endeavors if you operate from the energy and the emotion of love than you ever would if you operated from fear. It's just like, and it's so obvious when you step back and look at it. A lot of times that's the way that we can begin to see this clearly, is we can start to look at other people. You know, like if you were to look at me, for instance, right, and answer these questions about me instead of yourself, would you say, okay, hey Matt, am I going to be a better husband out of fear or out of love? Would I be a better husband if I'm afraid of my wife leaving me, or, our relationship, losing our relationship? Am I going to behave in a way that's constructed for the marriage if I'm afraid of losing the marriage, or if I just love my wife? The answer is pretty obvious, I think. Same with being a parent. Am I going to be a better parent if I just try my best to move into that state of unconditional love towards my daughter? Or if I'm just constantly afraid of everything and afraid of possible dangers in this world and trying to control every aspect of her life because, again, I'm afraid that something could happen. Like, think about that. What message do I send to her? I just send this idea that this world's this terrifying place, and the only way you're ever going to make it through is if you're afraid. And then I go into every aspect of my life, even my business, right, with Restored Minds. Am I going to do better operating from fear, or am I going to do better operating out of love? If I operate out of fear, then I see the world as scarce and competitive, and I start, making terrible decisions out of fear. And I've done that. I've gotten lost in fear in every aspect of my life, and that's why I always, I circle back to the central truth that I believe, that fear itself is the problem, not what I perceive through that lens of fear to be the problem. And my job is to get out of that energy of fear and into a higher energy or a higher emotional state and live from that place as much as I can. Because it's in those states that I tend to make the best decisions that are for my life. It's in those states that relationships flourish. It's in those states that every aspect of my life gets better. Now, again, when we can look at someone else and ask these questions, then we can start to flip the script and look at ourselves. That's the scariest one. That's the one no one wants to look at. We can always answer these questions for someone else. And when it comes to ourselves, we want to justify our fears. We want to hold on to them. We want to validate them. In fact, we want other people to validate them. And the question, again, coming back, is fear really serving you? Is fear really helping you? Or is it confining you? Is it creating some kind of prison in your life? Is it limiting the life that you are living? And is it really serving you? That's the real question you have to ask. Look at your fears. Ask yourself, would your life be fuller if you weren't living in control, or if you weren't controlled by this specific fear that you're wrestling with? I can almost guarantee you're going to answer yes. And once we identify that as the problem, then the next step is to truly confront it, to truly let it go. Now, obviously, if you want help and guidance doing that, then I would tell you, absolutely apply for taking back control. You can head over to Restored Minds. We have our full 12-week program to support you on that. You can also check out our book as a starter, if that sounds more in alignment with you, from stuck to unstuck. But this is such a central question, and it's such a default assumption that most of us move into, that fear serves us. And if you really step back and look at it, you're going to realize it doesn't. At least that's my belief and my perspective. So with that, I hope this episode served you. I hope it stirs up some thought for you to sit and kind of chew on for a second. And with that, hope you have a great day, great week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.